about to have you covered with the 2020 Detroit Lions schedule. Here's a preview and some predictions coming your way right now. Hello and welcome to Intermittent Sports. This is the show where we go over the Detroit Lions like we'll be doing today, the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Pistons, and the Michigan Wolverines. So if you bleed the colors of 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of those teams, go ahead and subscribe right here. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the Detroit and Michigan action. Today we're going over 1/4 of the Detroit Lions schedule in 2020. That's COVID pending, so we're going over games 1 through 4. Of course, that means there will be 3 videos following that one to go over the rest of the schedule. Be on the lookout for that. On today's slate though is against Chicago, at Green Bay, at Arizona, and home against New Orleans. Like a man merging onto a highway, let's just get into it. Up first for us on September 13th is a game against the Bears. Now, the Bears finished just 1 slot ahead of us in the NFC North. However, they were 4.5 games better than we were. And there was the whole Stafford injury and stuff like that, so we'll chalk it up. 2020 is a new year, like it or not. And let's be realistic, if the Lions let us down, well, that won't be any different than any other year, right? Now, I'm not going to go too much into detail on the Lions depth chart. Most of you guys who are avid Detroit Lions fans are going to know that already. Not much has changed since last year outside of Slay being replaced by Okudah. Of course, we have Matt Stafford back, which I mentioned earlier. That should pay huge dividends early. And then we drafted Deandre Swift early into the 2nd round, which was an excellent pick. This might be the best Detroit running back we've had in a long time. Especially considering he's got Kerryon Johnson to help him out back there. So now that we know all that, let's just go ahead and get into Chicago and what their depth chart looks like. Looking first at their defense, it's hard not to overlook that linebacking core. You got Khalil Mack, Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith. Literally, you could stack them up against the best of them and probably win. Against the air attack, you have cornerback Kyle Fuller, safety Eddie Jackson. Man, Chicago is pretty stout on the defensive side of the ball, to say the least. So good, in fact, that they were ranked 4th overall in team defense in 2019 in the entire NFL. Surprisingly, even without Stafford, Detroit ranked 17th on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL. I would not have known that. I mean, it's not great or anything, but it's better than I predicted. Now with Stafford back, that should be even better, so we should be looking at a pretty good matchup between Chicago's defense and Detroit's offense. The Bears' pass defense and rush defense both ranked 9th last season. They gave up 102 yards per game by the ground and 222 by air. The Lions, on the other hand, ranked 10th in the NFL throwing the ball. That's not too bad, 244 yards a game. But no surprise here, they were 21st in the NFL, the back half of the entire league, in running the ball. So if we play the law of averages here, we're looking at like 233 yards by air, 102.5 by ground. That's pretty easy math there, but again, we have Matt Stafford this time around, so it could be better. On offense against the Bears in this game, and really as we play the Bears anytime, because it's usually a pretty close affair between these two teams, we're going to need to convert some touchdowns. Field goals aren't going to cut it. And that's where going that weird route of taking a big tight end, number 10 overall, which sometimes looks questionable on paper. I was one of those guys who kind of questioned it. Could be huge. Because in a game where you can't take field goals, you need those touchdowns. You need a red zone threat, much like TJ Hawkinson can give you. He can also block very well for Kerryon Johnson and Deandre Swift. I'm going back on my criticism of that pick. It's just tough seeing you take a tight end that early, but prior to injury, he looked pretty good. I expect him, if he stays healthy, to have a huge sophomore outing in 2020. So last year against the Bears, we scored 13 points in one game, 20 points in another. I think we're going to get to 24 in this one. Let's see if it'll be enough to get the W. Now, although Detroit's defense wasn't exactly stout last year, and we weren't able to get some really much needed positions because we lost Slay and had to replace him with Okudah, it's safe to say that Chicago's offense isn't really anything to sweat over. Also, we used our round 2 draft pick on Deandre Swift, as I said, so we used our first pick on replacing a guy and our second pick on the offensive side of the ball. Could have definitely used a pass rusher here, but we had to do what we had to do. I think we made the right decisions. Chicago just isn't very good on the offensive side of the ball, and they haven't really added anybody since last season that would make you change your mind otherwise. Using the numbers to put that into perspective, they were 25th by air last year, 27th by ground. Total offensive team ranking, 29th. This begs the question, how in the world did we lose both contests against them last year, even without Stafford? Ah, I see. We had the 26th worst defense in the NFL. We were 21st against the run and dead last against the pass. It really makes you scratch your head. I mean, it's not like our defensive secondary are world beaters or anything, but they are some big names. You've got Walker, Coleman, Harmon, and now Okudah. I think those guys are very talented. We have to do a better job on the defensive line getting to the quarterback to make their job easier. So let's hope that the addition of Aquara and the maturation of Trey Trey Flowers and Deshaun Hand helps us in that regard. Or heck, maybe even Christian Jones or Tavai can get some pressure on the quarterback. I'll take it however we can get it. We were literally 30th in the department of sacks in 2019. All things said and done, I really like our chances here against the Bears. It reminds me a lot of the Indianapolis game 2 or 3 years ago, where it was kind of a back and forth affair. I think it's going to look a lot like that. I said we're going to score 24. That means I think we're going to get more than Chicago. I think they're going to score 20. We win week 1. What about week 2? Week 2, we've got the Green Bay Packers at that dreaded place called Lambeau Field. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this game because there's really no use in it. They're literally 22-3 against us since 1992 at Lambeau. We've done a lot better there over recent years, but I'm still going to play the statistics here. Last year, we were competitive at their place and at our place. We lost 22-23 and 20-23. I'm just going to cover it. Last year, we were 2-1-1 going into the Green Bay game. We had just lost to Kansas City, the eventual Super Bowl champions, 34-30. So it looked like we had a pretty decent team. And what happened there? Oh, I remember. Trey Flowers was phantomly called for illegal hands to the face for the second time in this game, and basically Green Bay got a break. As they always do, when does Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers not get a break against Detroit? Remember the face mask before the Hail Mary years ago? Yeah, so do I. Obviously, the Matt Stafford injury last year would have been too much to overcome anyway, but it makes you wonder what could have been had we started out 3-1-1 with a huge win at Green Bay early in the season. Of course, the kind of good news for us is that Green Bay took Utah State's quarterback Jordan Love in the draft. Aaron Rodgers wasn't too happy about that one. And then what's not talked about as much is that with the second pick, they took A.J. Dillon, the running back out of Boston College. Now, if you're a Michigan fan, you know who A.J. Dillon is. He's pretty legit, but still. That means in the first round, you picked a backup to a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. And in the second round, you picked a backup to a guy who was 8th overall in yards from scrimmage for the Green Bay Packers last season in Aaron Jones. So when it really comes down to it, and I think Aaron Rodgers has an absolutely good point here, you took two guys that are going to be backups for quite some time on a team that made it to the NFC Championship game last year and was one game away from playing for a Super Bowl. That would absolutely frustrate me as well if I was the quarterback there, because it's like, yo, I just need some pieces to get over this hump, and you're not giving them to me. It's been a legitimate knock on Green Bay's management while Aaron Rodgers has been there. I mean, he's got a point. They probably should have more than just the one Super Bowl that Aaron Rodgers got them. Regardless of that news, asking us to contain the 8th best statistical quarterback last year and the 8th best statistical yards from scrimmage running back last year is requesting a lot, especially out of the league's 26th ranked defense and on the road at Lambeau where we've struggled. In the two meetings against us last year, Rodgers went for 606 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Jones never found pay dirt, but he did go for 203 yards. So these numbers aren't like astronomical or anything, but they're pretty good. I think the Pack score 30 here, we score 23, so that's my final score, 30-23, Green Bay. Next up on the slate, we have a game at the Arizona Cardinals, and by golly, may we better win this game. Especially considering how we ended in a tie last year against a rookie quarterback in his very first start. I don't care if that rookie quarterback was Kyler Murray. You can't let that happen. Bruh, the score was 24-6, 13 seconds into the fourth quarter. We had Murray under wraps, we had David Johnson under wraps, and by default, we had Larry Fitzgerald under wraps. But then they went on a 21-3 scoring spree, and that had us saying, well, something we've always said over the years. Typical Lions. Matt Stafford looked great going for 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. TJ Hawkinson in an awesome debut had 6 catches, 131 yards, and 1 touchdown. Looked very worthy of that first pick. And Amendola looked pretty nice too, 7 catches, 104 yards, 1 trip to the pay dirt. And then right on cue, the Lions defense really let us down. And let me tell you something, that's going to be something we're going to see a lot of in 2020 if we don't get some consistency in the front 7. Like I said, there's no reason to blame the Lions for taking Okudah with the first pick and Deandre Swift with the second pick. That's excellent value. But it really is frustrating when you look at it, because we could have had Darius Slay and Jeff Okudah, or Darius Slay and Isaiah Simmons, or Darius Slay and Derek Brown. We could have had any of those guys if our management and coaching staff could get along with players and not make these guys want to leave. Or we could have had Henry Ruggs, a very fast receiver at that position, to take the top off. Been a while since we've had a real guy who can do that. But yes, back to that falter of the Detroit Lions D. Kyler Murray ended up with 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and Fitz was Fitz with 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. David Johnson went for 82 yards on the ground, 55 by air, 1 touchdown. That's pretty solid. Plain and simple, we let that one get away. 300 yards by a rookie quarterback in his very first NFL start. We're going to score against Arizona's defense, no question about that. I think we're going to go for 30 in this particular game. But we're also going to get scored on a lot. You know, this is one of those games, if you're Detroit or Arizona, as a fan base, you're like, man, we really need to win this game, and we should win this game. Both teams feel like they should win. It's just one of those games where you're like, God, how do we lose to them? No matter who you're rooting for. It's going to be a tough game. My nails are going to absolutely suffer because of it, but I think Arizona's only going to score 27. We got 3 more than them in that regard, so I'm thinking we go 2-1. Go Lions. Next game. That next game is one where we can finally come back home, but this time we're playing against the Saints. That's not the Bears. What is there to say to you guys that you don't already know about this kind of game? We've already talked about how bad we are against the run and against the pass. That's never a good thing when you're playing against Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and Alvin Kamara. We're in trouble. We're in trouble in a big, big way. Just for giggles though, I'll go ahead and give you some stats the way I did the other games. The Saints offense ranked 9th overall in the NFL last season. Admittedly, I thought it'd be a little bit better. They were 7th by air, that seems about right. 16th by ground, which is middle of the pack, but still legitimately better than Detroit. In fact, they're better than Detroit on the offensive side of the ball than Detroit is on the defensive side of the ball in pretty much every statistical category. Obviously, Detroit's going to be able to throw the ball against a Saints defensive secondary that ranked among the league's worst last season. However, in 2019 against the run, they were pretty good. They were 4th overall, and we've never been good at running the ball. We have Deandre Swift now. I think he's going to do some big things alongside Kerryon Johnson, but it's not going to be this early into the season. And it's not going to be against a team as good at stopping the run as New Orleans is. So really, until we're actually able to see it with our own eyes, we got to call a spade a spade. If you can't run the ball, you become one-dimensional. That's been an issue in Detroit for quite some time now. And we'll likely be playing catch-up in most games as we have in most seasons. So as a result, I think we're going to get hammered in this game. I'm thinking something to the tune of 45-27. For this game, grab a 6-pack of beer, sit back, enjoy it. Just don't think too much about it. Don't grab any more than 6 though, because any more than that you might start getting angry, depending on your level. But yeah, 45-27 Saints, we fall to 2-2. Alright guys, there you have it. Games 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the Detroit Lions previewed and predicted for you. Of course, soon I'll have games 5, 6, 7, and 8 for you. I also have 4, 5, and 6 of the Wolverines coming up. I've already covered 1 through 3, so check that out if you're a Michigan fan as well. We've also been giving you some live Detroit Tigers action. We're going to be doing live call-in shows pretty soon. We've got it all here on Intramittent Sports, your #1 source for Detroit and Michigan Wolverines sports here on YouTube. So if you're fans of the Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons, Detroit Tigers, or Michigan Wolverines, hey, we'd love to have you. And you can make that happen for the price of free by subscribing right here and clicking the bell notification so you don't miss any of the action this season and every season. Thank you very much in advance, guys. We absolutely appreciate you watching, and until next time, go Lions.